Man, oh man.
Oh, absolute carnage.
I can say one thing. Fireworks may have been banned in Delhi NCR, but not in Joburg.
Of course. I mean, absolute carnage set up by two individuals. Tilak Verma, Sanju Samson. I mean, I am sure Sanju Samson would have been a roller coaster in his previous avatar. Because one moment he's up, next moment he's down, again he's up, so he's formed a perfect N. Because N, you go up, you go down, you go up again. So Sanju Samson, 109. Abhishek Sharma, 36 in a brilliant partnership of 73. Tilak Verma joins Sanju Samson as only the second Indian. And in this series itself, to score back-to-back tons. So, before I come to my two panelists, here are the list of records that has been broken in this particular match.
Siddharth, if you go on with that, we'll never get a chance to talk.
2 minutes. I managed to beat Gulati in the time challenge. This is also. So
go ahead.
So my 2 minutes begins now. Sanju Samson, third T20I ton, the only player in T20I history to score 3 T20I tons in a single year. Tilak Verma, back-to-back tons, joins Sanju Samson as the only guy to have done it. Indian, I'm saying. Then 210 run partnership, the highest ever for the second wicket. 283 for 1, the highest ever total in Johannesburg in T20Is ever, beating 260 for 6. Sri Lanka against Kenya. 23 sixes in an innings, the most ever, beating the previous mark of 22 that was set 4 games ago in Hyderabad. The floor is all yours, gentlemen.
I wonder what's left to say.
Let's go and have tea.
I mean, short boundaries, flat pitch, horrible fielding from South Africa, who dropped 3 to 4 chances.
There's only one thing I'll say, speaking of that. The ball was either flying into the stands or falling between the fielders, because the times that the South Africans I think in the field made up their mind that we want the ball either to be airborne or we want the ball to be on the ground, because the times that the ball landed in their hands, they didn't want to keep it.
They didn't.
Keshav Maharaj in the process ended up hurting. We hope that he's fine. But probably I was just wondering, would Marco Jansen have the biggest pair of hands in the entire stadium?
I mean, absolutely.
And that pocket-sized hands of his.
Bucket size, you mean?
Yeah, bucket size maybe.
But then, look, the trend was set in the first over itself, because Abhishek Sharma was dropped.
In the slip cordon.
In the slip cordon, very first over.
Then he had one other thick outside edge, but that I think flew way past Henrik Klaasen. Then there was another chance, but then, after that he had to walk back to the pavilion.
And by the way, 2 centurions in the same T20I innings. Let me add, it's the first time it's happened between full member nations. Otherwise, Japan versus China, 258 runs was made for 0, and Japan won that match by a massive margin of 180. Yes, it wasn't quite 300. We are expecting that India might score 300, because at the halfway stage, they were about 135, 140. Looking at the way how Tilak and Sanju were absolutely blazing.
Who do we talk about first? Who do we talk about first?
I think
the man who
I think Tilak.
I think let's just I think talk about 2 things here, which I feel really deserve a point of discussion, to be very honest. One is, obviously, this is I think the first time in maybe last 1.5 to 2 years that Aiden Markram, the captain, has looked completely out of sorts. Like, I have never seen him really go that wrong with this tactics. There was no point in having Tristan Stubbs as a bowler when you knew that Sanju Samson and Tilak Verma were actually going all guns blazing. That basically allowed India to grab and sustain the momentum. And secondly, it's something that a point that I was discussing with our teammates upstairs, that what has this match now done, what has this innings now has pretty much, I think, confirmed, is that Sanju Samson and Abhishek Sharma.
Agreed.
This is it.
Agreed.
In terms of pecking order.
Even before Sanju had reached the 3-figure mark, let's say when he was in his 80s, and the strike rate at which he was operating, 2 things came to my mind. Point number 1, that he's established himself right up top. Now, this innings really has put the seal on it. And now this is competition, by the way, for Shubman Gill. Shubman Gill, who has been in and out of the side. This is competition for Shubman Gill. This also.
Because of Tilak Verma.
Because of Tilak Verma. And Sanju Samson also, because Siddharth, he would have wanted to open Shubman Gill in the shortest format of the game as we've seen. But he was dropped in that Afghanistan series. Then he was made to come back. That's a different thing altogether. And now there's an opening for Shubman Gill because Rohit Sharma is retired.
And Virat Kohli also.
And Virat Kohli is retired. So there is an opening for Shubman Gill. But this is also pressure on a Rishabh Pant. Because forget one. He doesn't even have one T20I 100 at the moment. Sanju Samson now has three of them.
Yeah.
So while we were watching Sanju Samson, I was thinking of two other Indian players who probably wouldn't have liked seeing this.
Yeah.
But it's a good headache, as we so often say.
You went to a particular event now, right? And there you are way behind in the queue. Was the Indian, maybe Rishabh Pant might be getting that feeling.
But
now.
you know what happened the moment that I saw I was in a queue? There's an opening that came up and a second queue got formed and I got fast tracked.
But
And that's Indian cricket for you, my friend.
I don't think so. That fast tracking is gone. I think that fast tracking is now gone because now there is serious competition.
Yeah.
2 and 3. Good luck in
Any
figuring it
question now? I'm in agreement with Siddharth. That debate for me is over for now. Who's my opener? Yashasvi Jaiswal,
out. Sanju Samson.
Sanju Samson. Put a stamp on it. At the moment, I think it's a done debate.
I think what it basically does is that it's going to be a little unfortunate, but I don't see, unless there's obviously an injury or there is another line that forms, or maybe Abhishek Sharma gets tracked there. I don't see Abhishek Sharma being a part of India's T20I squad for the England series, because I have a feeling that you will see the return of Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shubman Gill there, and unless there is an injury, I don't see that happening, because any which ways you wouldn't want to pick more than 3 openers.
But guys,
This is so many question marks. This is now
Exactly.
2 innings from Tilak Verma has opened up a Pandora's box over here. You weren't expecting this kind of a show.
Yeah.
Now, how do you move him from number
You know,
3? That's question number 1. He goes, tells his captain, listen, skipper, why don't you bat at 4? I know you're batting at 3. But how about I go at 3? I want that responsibility. I want those extra balls. He repays you with 2 back-to-back centuries. How do you then move out somebody who's got 3 T20I tons in the space of one calendar? Forget one calendar year in the space of 6 innings.
6 innings.
Yeah.
There is one interesting development.
Rather
on the
5,
sidelines.
4 and 1.
4 and 1.
Correct.
I'll tell you another interesting. It's come in the backdrop of something very interesting. In the IPL mega auction list that has come, Rishabh Pant has registered himself as a batter only, not as a wicket.
And I think that has pretty much got to do with what happened in that opening test against New Zealand at M. Chinnaswamy Stadium.
Not really.
When he got hurt on his knee.
If. Okay, that is one factor.
His knee is always going to be a
It
problem.
was dodgy. It's been dodgy since then.
Are you looking at the future, say in white ball cricket, Rishabh Pant only as a batter?
No, Siddharth.
If that is the case, okay.
Because he will continue to keep in the longest format. The question always then that will be hanging in front of him always perpetually will be, if you can do 5 days of keeping in the longest format of the game, then why not in 20
Because I'll tell you why. See, I'm only saying he will be your full-time red ball keeper. There's no doubt about it. Red ball, there's no doubt about it. White ball, with the stress that is there, and especially Pant coming back after a surgery and knowing that his knee will never be 100%. Is this a tactical move that he's done? That I'm registering in the IPL, it's kind of a glimpse into the future. I'm only playing as a batter in white ball.
See, if my...
That affects his price, by the way. If you are going with the fact that you are not looking him as a 3D player, batter, keeper, skipper, he becomes a two-dimensional player then.
But you know why? Because see, we know that the batters in marquee set 1, they're going to go first, isn't it? If he was a wicket-keeper bat, he would go much lower. Already by that time, the franchisees would have exhausted their options. So that is why strategic move number 1, he is registered only as a batter. Strategic point number 2, in the wake of Sanju Samson now scoring 300s in 5 innings, it's completely shut the door for Jitesh.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Okay?
And Ishan, if there was ever an opening for him.
Ishan is way back in the queue. Okay? The one who's gotten an assured thing, at least even for the next series. And I don't know why Gulati keeps on saying this, but you're throwing a very interesting googly here. If Sanju has a great...
I would take it as a compliment.
If he believes that if Sanju has a great T20I series versus England, you could look at him as one of the options for the Champions
You could look at him now. You are looking at him as one of your options for the Champions Trophy. It
That's
is
what
happening.
he believes very honestly.
See, there is one thing that
You're
I
talking
told.
about the England series next year.
See, I'll tell you what.
Before the Champions
yeah.
I'll tell you
right
what.
before
See, by if
It's
I,
in February only, I believe.
January, Feb.
Feb.
irrespective of where the Champions Trophy is held, India, Pakistan, Dubai, or whichever country, South Africa, whichever country it is.
South Africa will be great. Sanju's record here.
Yeah, Sanju has, I think, a total of 3 centuries in South Africa now. 1 ODI and
One
2
ODI,
T20s.
yeah.
Correct.
True,
Yeah.
true.
So the point here is that irrespective of where the CT is held, I believe that Sanju Samson, he could make India's ODI squad for the Champions Trophy. See, you will have to name the Champions Trophy squad by maybe the end of January, if I'm not wrong.
So is he superseding? One second. Is he superseding KL Rahul?
I think he's probably superseding Shreyas Iyer.
No. So you're keeping 3 keeper batters effectively then?
Sanju Samson plays as a proper batter, and I'll tell you why.
Sanju, KL,
Pant.
and Pant.
Yeah. See, in most of the cases that we have seen, whenever a new coaching staff takes charge or whenever a new captain takes charge, there are some players that a particular coach and a captain wants to back. And in this case, I have specifically felt one thing, that this is the first time in Indian cricket that there is a management that wants to back Sanju Samson. And it's not just about, backing here. I think Gautam Gambhir, the head coach, he has a specific liking for Sanju Samson. Now he has got those 300s in 5 matches. With the way, the BCCI selectors have usually functioned in the past few years, I think 3-figure scores matter a lot. And when a player is doing well in a particular format, they would want to fast track him into another format also. And that said, I feel it could happen.
It's interesting because it was at the back of an ODI century that Sanju managed to get into the squad for the T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
So it can happen the other way around as well, that he makes it to the T20
Absolutely.
at the back
The
of
ODI
200s.
squad. In the
Absolute-
Champions Trophy. yet again.
3-figure scores, they matter a lot. They always matter a lot. I'll just go back to 2019. There was a story that I was doing between Steve Smith versus Virat Kohli after Smith had scored those 700 odd runs in the Ashes.
774
I interviewed one of the former India selectors for that story, and he told me one interesting thing. He was like, Siddharth, when you have those multiple 3-figure scores to your name, there are very less chances that you will be dropped when you have a lean patch. Look at KL Rahul. In 2017, he had those 6 or 7 consecutive 50s.
Yeah.
Had he, converted them into hundreds, he wouldn't have been dropped from the test team after 2019. That is what hundreds do to you. They save you from getting dropped, and at the very same time, reserve your place in one of the other formats also.
I mean, see, this is a tribute to the current dispensation, especially.
Even in the shortest format, would you think that this is true?
I believe so. I believe. See,
Because right now, things have. You look at, there were players who were getting criticism last year in the IPL for getting bucket loads of runs, but the pace at which they were getting those runs, there were question marks over the who's who of the game.
Correct.
So maybe the game has evolved now where greater emphasis is being given to striker. And the one thing that I see, perhaps it's to do with the regime, it may also have to do with the fact that now the monkey is off the back, in the sense that you are T20 champions now. You find you don't have anything to prove. That jinx is gotten over in terms of ICC championships being won and lost. So now this team has opened up furthermore, and look at Tilak Verma's strike rate today and the previous game as well. So they are normalizing a strike rate of 180 to 210.
Yes,
Some of
exactly.
the Indian batters.
Exactly.
This is something you need to appreciate. What we've seen in this series is, seeing these strike rates very frequently.
Yep.
It happened in the previous series as well.
Yes. So that is why, see, this year has been golden because now most likely you are going to end with only 2 losses. This is the last T20.
Assuming
think,
South
yeah,
Africa
yeah.
pull off a miracle.
Yeah,
Johannesburg miracle, you never know with South Africa. It's happened in 2006, that 434.
So who would be there? Jack Callis, who would say that relax guys,
they are-
India are 20 short.
Could be a Heinrich.
No, there was Callis or there was
Callis.
Relax
Wasn't
guys.
Callis had said that.
Gibbs.
There are 15 short. No, Callis.
Callis.
Gibbs then came out all guns blazing.
Gibbs.
That's why
175.
175. But the initial platform was laid by Graham Smith, 90. The best part was Dippenar went early.
Yeah.
So that is why.
Dippenar.
But you know what is his real name? Human. Hendrik Human Dippenaar. That's his real name.
Okay.
So, looking at it, we'll have a detailed
percentage. How much? Because you've talked about the possibility of South Africa winning this one.
It was a once in a generation
No, but
thing.
this is 1%.
2%.
1%.
One. I'm going 0.5.
0.5. Oh, that low. Yeah, it's 2%. No, it's not happening. We'll have a detailed discussion on Sanju Samson and Tilak Verma about how the dynamics for the Indian T20 team will be in the post-match, where you'll have a lengthier discussion, because now we are going to see the Indian cricket team come out and play.
Yeah. Also, we understand there are a few super chats and some of you have been very persistent with your questions. We're taking grabs of those. In fact, we'll try and start the chat right towards the end with those questions, and then of course the full analysis will happen. For now, we will take you leave. The players have already made it to the field. Enjoy the action. Hopefully there's more fireworks, but just enough that gives India a comfortable win, and should.
I think it's a comfortable win.
Do we want to take guesses what the victory margin could be like?
I think about 60 runs.
Yeah, same 70-80 runs.
I'm going 90 runs because I've given 0.5 na. So I need to go with that kind of a margin.
Yeah. See, there will be fireworks. It's a flat deck.
Yeah.
Absolutely flat with small boundaries, and yes, the air is lighter in Johannesburg, so that's why the ball will travel. They will give a fight. So let's see who succeeds in this. But last chance for the South Africans to impress before the mega auction. That's going to happen in 9 days' time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be something else. So, yep. 284 is the target that South Africa have to do to ensure they level the series 2-2, but looks very, very difficult. So from me, Gulati and Harshit, we'll be back for the match end, where we'll have a detailed discussion on Sanju, Tilak and the dynamics of this Indian cricket team going forward.
Perhaps the bowlers as well, if there is a 100-run victory.
Yeah.
Maybe an Arshdeep, Ravi Bishnoi, all of them. I mean, remember, Arshdeep is, I have picked him as one of the most expensive buys in the IPL auction, mega auction. If he has a great performance today, so be it. So, bye-bye from all of us, and we'll be back for the match end by midnight. Bye.